His mom is Leslie Macher, Stu Macher's sister.
Will Leslie Macher show up in Scream 7 and possibly be one of the ghost faces? Let's talk about it.
Certain rules. Push the laws and you end up dead.
This is the moment when the supposedly dead killer comes back to life.
Not in my movie.
Surprise, Sydney.
He's gone mad.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
A very simple formula.
You want to play psycho killer?
Everybody's a suspect.
No, please don't kill me, Mr. Ghostface. I want to be in the sequel.
I'll be right back.
Okay, I think it's gonna go something like this.
I'm Pamela, welcome back to the channel. Today we're discussing yet another Scream theory. Let's talk about Leslie Macher, Stu Macher's sister. We have yet to meet her ever in the franchise, but she was briefly mentioned in Scream 5. Amber mentioned her because Leslie Macher was Vince Schneider's mother. Vince was one of the victims in Scream 5. He is Stu Macher's nephew, aka Leslie Macher's son. Now, you guys know I'm a Stu believer. I believe he's alive. I think he's going to show up in Scream 7. And I do think that this has been the plan at least since Scream 5. You know, obviously, Stu was supposed to show up in Scream 3 before they decided to change the script. So, you know, that alone proves that Stu could have very well survived his injuries in the first movie. But I do think Scream 5 and Scream 6 were setting it up for the grand reveal in Scream 7, for Stu Macher to finally come back in Scream 7. There are a ton of clues for this that we won't get into in this video, but if you're new here, if you're not familiar with all of the Stu clues, please check out some of my past videos. I will link some of them down below in the description for you, but please check out my full Stu Macher playlist. I have like over 50 Stu videos where we discuss every single Stu clue in Scream 5 and Scream 6. And there are a lot, so I think Radio Silence was setting this up for Scream 7. Now, if and when Stu returns, will his sister be involved? Somehow, will she show up in the story? Whether or not she's working with him, will she be a character that comes into play? Like I already said, she has some significance to the story because she was mentioned in Scream 5 and her son was murdered in Scream 5. So ever since Leslie Macher was first mentioned in Scream 5, 3 years ago now at this point, I always thought that she would show up eventually. And with Stu's likely return in Scream 7, could this be played by Anna Camp? Could Anna Camp be playing Leslie Macher? Obviously, the character Leslie is going to be someone a little bit older. We don't know whether or not Leslie Macher was older or younger than Stu. You know, we don't know what their age difference is and whether or not she's older or younger, but let's talk about some of these rumored character descriptions for Scream 7. These are not confirmed. These are just rumored character descriptions, but they do come from a pretty reliable source. I believe these came from Daniel Rickman on Twitter. There is a character supposedly named Jennifer who is supposed to be a little bit older, in her 40s or 50s, and supposedly playing Sydney's neighbor. And I'm going to assume that this role will be played by Anna Camp because out of all the new cast members, she is the oldest. And I think that this character, Jennifer, Sydney's neighbor, could secretly be Leslie Macher. If Sydney's neighbor is Leslie Macher, obviously she's going to be going by a different name. She's not going to use the name Leslie Macher. Sydney would know who she is, so she's using an alias, Jennifer. Now, when I brought this up in a past video, a lot of you guys were asking, wouldn't Sydney recognize Leslie? And I don't think she would, and here is why. First of all, maybe Leslie was older, maybe she was in college, maybe Sydney never even met her. Or maybe she was younger. That actually would make a lot more sense if she was younger than Stu and she never hung around his friend group. That would make total sense why Sydney would never even meet her in the first place. Especially because Anna Camp is younger than Matthew Lillard, so maybe Leslie Macher was younger. It's possible. Just because she was friends with Stu in the same friend group doesn't mean that she met his sister and doesn't necessarily know what she looks like. But even if she did meet her a few times, Sydney did not remember Judy Hicks. In Scream 4, when Judy and Sydney have that scene in the hallway, Sydney does not remember her, and they went to high school together and were in the same play together. So if Sydney can't even remember someone who she was in high school with, probably in the same grade with, but at least worked together in the same play. If she can't remember Judy, like, it makes total sense for her to not remember Leslie. Someone who wasn't even necessarily in school with her, someone who was her friend's sister, who maybe wasn't around all the time. So that can definitely be explained. Now, according to these rumored character descriptions, this character, Jennifer, Sydney's neighbor, also has a son named Logan, who is, you know, this creepy kid. I assume this is going to be played by Sam Reckner. It could also be Asa Gurman. I don't know. They're kind of interchangeable, but this character, Logan, is Jennifer's son. So if Jennifer is really Leslie, that would make Logan Leslie Macher's son, aka Stu's nephew, aka the brother of Vince Schneider, who was killed in Scream 5. Which brings me to the topic of Vince. You guys know, I think that Richie and Amber from Scream 5 were a part of Stu's cult. I think Stu is their leader, and everything that they did was for Stu. So a lot of you guys always ask me, why would Stu have his nephew killed? Let's discuss some options. Option number 1, Vince was posting some sketchy stuff online. He was like posting some weird stuff on Instagram or something like that. There is this line that Liv says when Vince shows up outside of Woodsboro High and they're all talking about Vince and how he's kind of just standing there creepily. Liv says how Vince is posting a bunch of weird stuff online.
Is that Vince? He's been stalking my Instagram the last couple weeks, posting the creepiest shit.
I think this line of dialogue from her could be important. I feel like it gets overlooked. It's just a very quick line that is snuck in there. Maybe Vince was a part of the cult as well and was kind of posting some of their plans online, and Richie and Amber decided they have to get rid of him. And maybe Stu even gave them the go-ahead for this, like, I don't care if he's my nephew, he is going to blow our cover, we have to take him out. That is option number 1. Option number 2, maybe Leslie knew that Stu was alive, but she kind of abandoned him, wanted nothing to do with him. So Stu decided to kill Vince to teach her a lesson. You know, if you're gonna be my family and abandon me, I'm going to take your family away from you. Option number 3, maybe Leslie is working with Stu. Maybe she is also kind of a part of his cult, or just helping him stay in hiding and carry out these plans. And maybe Vince didn't want to be a part of the cult, so they had him killed. Maybe Leslie was okay with them killing him. I don't know. I mean, these people are psychopaths. It wouldn't be the first time in a movie or a TV show that a parent had their kid killed. And these people are literally crazy killers, so maybe she wanted her son to be killed. Option number 4, Stu tried to recruit Vince into his cult and Vince said no. So Stu didn't want Vince to out him to the world. You know, Vince would have known that Stu was alive and that he's trying to form this cult, but Vince was against it. So Stu had to have him killed because he didn't want any loose ends. He didn't want Vince blabbing his mouth. Option number 5. I don't think this one is likely, but maybe Richie had no idea who Vince was and just randomly killed him, just to add to the body count. I don't know. If Richie didn't know who Vince was, I would think that Amber would know who he was, because Richie wasn't from Woodsboro, but Amber was, and was living in Stu Macher's house, so I would imagine that she knew who Vince was. But there's always a chance that she didn't, which could explain why later in the movie she says, I googled him, his mom is Leslie Macher.
I googled him, his mom is Leslie Macher. Stu Macher's sister.
Like, maybe Amber was telling the truth and she really didn't know who he was and had to Google it. I don't think this one's likely, but you never know. There's a lot of different options and ways that they can go with this storyline. Like, you know, if Leslie Macher is going to show up, why was her son killed? There's a few different ways they could handle this. Speaking of Vince, I am pretty intrigued by Dewey's relationship with him. There's a deleted scene in Scream 5 right before Vince is killed. This is still in the bar. You know, we see in the movie that Vince like pulls a knife on Chad and gets kicked out of the bar, but there is a deleted scene where Dewey tries to get in the middle of this, and Dewey's drunk and he says to Vince, like, you don't want to mess with these kids, come over here and have a drink with me.
Hey, Vince, come on, you don't want to hurt anyone. Leave these kids alone and come have a drink.
Fuck you, Riley. Let's go. Come on.
Hey, ow. Hey, what are you doing with me? Hey, yo.
Which, you know, kind of sounds like they might have this friendly relationship. Like maybe they drink together pretty often. And then in this deleted scene, Vince punches Dewey. Dewey's on the floor and he says to Vince, like, oh, Vince, like, come on. Like, they're friends and, you know, why did you just punch me? We're friends.
Fuck you, Riley.
Vince.
I just think that is an interesting dynamic. And I really wish they didn't delete this scene. I mean, it's only like 2 seconds long. And I think it's interesting because Vince is the nephew of your sister's killer. Whether Stu or Billy killed Tatum, Stu is still, you know, responsible for it. He played a role in Tatum's death, Dewey's sister, and he might have this friendly relationship with Stu's nephew. Obviously, it's not Vince's fault that Tatum was killed, but it's just interesting. And I do just have to mention my theory that I think there's a good chance that Dewey knew that Stu was alive. I am not going to get into the details about that in this video. I do go into great detail in a past video on this. I will link it down below for you guys and right here in the video. So if you're curious how Dewey Riley possibly knew that Stu Macher is still alive, check out that video. Now I also have to bring up these script leaks for Scream 7. This was about a year ago. Scream 7 was in development. At this point, it's been a long time. There were so many delays because of, you know, casting fiascos, script rewrites. You know, after Melissa Barrera was fired, they had to work out something with Neve Campbell. They had their director quit. So this movie, honestly, would probably be well on its way to be released very soon if they had continued with development a year ago. Fall of 2023 or very early 2024, like last January, after Melissa was fired, Jenna quit, Christopher Landon quit, and this movie was kind of put on pause, we did get some script leaks where apparently Leslie Macher was going to be one of the ghost faces with Christina Carpenter, Sam and Tara's mom. Which honestly, Leslie Macher, Christina Carpenter, and Stu Macher all working together is literally my dream scenario for Scream 7. Obviously, I don't think Christina Carpenter will be in the movie now that her daughters aren't. I do think it's still possible if they really wanted to do it, but I feel like it's way less likely now. I have so many theories on Christina Carpenter as well, which we're not going to get into in this video. Again, I will link those videos down below for you if you're curious about how Christina Carpenter could potentially be working with Stu Macher. But yeah, according to this Scream 7 script leak, Leslie Macher was going to be one of the ghost faces, which just proves, you know, my theory that I do think that this is what they were setting up with the mention of Leslie Macher in Scream 5, killing off her son Vince. Will Anna Camp play Leslie Macher in Scream 7? I think it's a pretty good chance, which would also make her son another one of Stu's nephews. I could definitely see Leslie Macher being revealed before Stu's revealed. So, you know, maybe Sydney will be hanging out with her friend Jennifer, aka Leslie, doesn't know it yet that it's Leslie Macher. They'll be talking. Maybe Sydney will piece some things together and figure out that she's lying about some things, and then she's going to reveal herself leading up to Stu Macher's reveal. I hope that Leslie is working with Stu. I hope that it comes out that she has been helping Stu stay in hiding for all of these years. Like, she's been giving him money, keeping him hidden, helping him carry out his plans, and she's just as evil as he is. But what do you guys think? Leave a comment down below. Are you a fan of this theory? Do you think that Anna Camp could possibly be playing Leslie Macher? Also, just really quick guys, if you are looking for more Scream content, go follow Jake Lubb here on YouTube. His channel name is Scooby Scream. I will link it down below. He is a huge fan of the Scream franchise. He just started out his YouTube channel, so let's help him get to 1,000 subscribers. He's got some fun Scream theories and a lot of great insight into the franchise, so definitely go give him a follow. I've been following him on TikTok for years, and you know, considering TikTok is a little up in the air right now, he decided to start a YouTube channel, so definitely go show some support over there. Please give this video a like if you enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel if you're new here, make sure you turn on all notifications so that you don't miss out on future Scream theories like this one or Scream 7 updates. Filming is literally starting like right now. You know, we're bound to get some more Scream 7 updates soon, and you won't want to miss it. Any update that we get will be posted here. Thanks so much for tuning into another video, and I will see you guys next time.